So the Turtle Man was trying to push against having the 1619 Project be taught. What is the 1619 Project? Reference it a bunch. You guys probably know, or at least have a cursory understanding. I'll just break it down very, very simply before we get into the actual text of the thing, and then the retraction, sort of, from the outlet that is pushing it. And once you see the outlet that is pushing it, it'll make total sense as to why they are, in fact, pushing it. But the 1619 Project purports that America was founded on a slaveocracy in 1619, and that they've been living under 400 years of oppression. Even though if you'd read a great book, which I'm currently reading right now, Black Rednecks and White Liberals by Thomas Sowell, you'd understand that, that was the culture of the South at the time. The immigrants that came over from the places like Britain and Scotland and Ireland, the ones that settled in the South, they brought over their bad habits. And it didn't matter if you were black or white and you were trying to move up into the North, where at the time they were electing actually black people in places like Detroit, back when they were Republican places. They were electing them to public office. But they wouldn't rent or they wouldn't hire anybody from the South, because anybody from the South had a tendency to be not quite at the same level of work ethic. Why let a little factor like actual history get in the way of pushing your narrative? And then you have James Clyburn, right? The number 2 in the Democratic Party, in the House at least. And, he's trying to flip that turtle on his back. Schools will produce ignorant people if they listen to McConnell's push against the 1619 Project. Well, how could that possibly be? On Saturday's broadcast of MSNBC's Never Fails, Weekends with Alex Witt. House Majority Whip James Clyburn, a Democrat from South Carolina. Never trust a politician from South Carolina. Reacted to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell's letter to the Department of Education criticizing the 1619 Project as being the hokum which it is and the pure work of fiction, and other curriculum items by saying that if schools were to follow his lead, they'll be turning out a lot of ignorant people. And then everybody clapped. Clyburn said that America is great because we have always been able to repair our faults like slavery and segregation, but you just won't fucking let it go. Those faults have been repaired. The opportunity to pursue a fruitful life and career is possible for everybody. That has long been decided. That has long been determined. That has long been the case in red states. The only places where they've been a lagging behind, well, that's in your own party, buddy. And you pushing this racist rhetoric isn't really helping anybody. In the interview turned to Mitch McConnell's letter on the 1619 Project, Clyburn said, "I used to teach history. You should probably go back there. I study history every day." Does the history you study from the books that you read have little pop-up segments and little musical interludes? Just asking, because if you believe the 1619 Project wholesale, I've got to doubt your teaching credentials. And I would tell my kids, the students in my class, I would tell them all the time, look, don't bring these dates to me. Yeah, don't question anything. I'm the teacher. I know what's best for you. 1619 is a date where black folks were introduced to this country, and we know that. Oh, okay. Even though, the process of education is to challenge preconceived notions, is to look at two sets of facts and determine which ones are more correct. He already has all the answers. Come on, he's the professor after all. Why would you question a professor? That's when Columbus found his way here. Oh, okay, so what? Columbus on the Mayflower brought a whole host of slaves with him? I was unaware of this, but okay, sure, we'll go ahead. Native Americans were here all the time. What, were they just placed here by the Lord and Savior government? Was that who put them there? They were just always here, man. It sounded like some creationist thinking right there. We put history in the proper perspective. It's proper because you're saying it. And you don't do that by ignoring the facts. No, you make this statement when you're ignoring the facts. McConnell ought to be ashamed of himself. Take a look in the mirror. If the schools down in Kentucky were to follow his lead, they'll be turning out a lot of ignorant people. Unlike those great people from the places like California, who we will get to very shortly. And I would hope that it would do what is necessary so everybody will put history in a proper context. Yes, the way that we want it put. You're an idiot, James. And why is that? Well, because even the New York Times, where the 1619 Project was first pushed out by some redheaded black lady propagandist. I mean, she got red tips in her hair and she's a complete ideologue idiot. She's just another race hustler out there. This was an update, which is actually a retraction, but it's kind of funny that they phrase it this way. And it's been debunked all the way since March 11th, 2020, before quarantine and everything, back when we used to have a functional, society. Today we are making a clarification to a passage from the essay from the 1619 Project. Remember, we're trying to teach kids based on an essay by an idiot. That has sparked a great deal of online debate. Ooh, that's exactly, we want clicks, 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 clicks. The passage in question states that one primary reason the colonists fought the American Revolution was to protect the institution of slavery. Doesn't that sound fucking stupid? This assertion has elicited criticism from some historians and support from others. Care to cite your source? Nah, we're just going to go ahead and tell you why we still think that we're right, even though you couldn't be more incorrect. And here's a breakdown from the Heritage Center. From Frederick Douglass to Martin Luther King Jr., many Americans have tried to bridge Americans' racial divide. America's newspaper of record believes it has discovered a new way, no longer preaching faith in the Constitution or civic brotherhood. The New York Times hopes that by creating enough hatred for the nation's founding, its ideals, and the American majority group, justice and harmony will somehow emerge. This, anyway, is the idea behind the 1619 Project. Its lead essay, written by activist Nicole Hannah-Jones, falsifies important parts of American history with their view to engineering this new approach. While it has been roundly debunked by a chorus of renowned academics for gross factual and thematic inaccuracies, its most outlandish claim is that the American Revolution was fought to protect slavery. The preeminent historian of the American Revolution, Gordon Woods, points out that he does not know of any colonist who said that they wanted an impedance in order to preserve their slaves, nor does anyone else. There is no historical record. Yeah. Okay, what do they point to in order to justify their fucking erroneous claim? Well, It said there that everybody was created equal under God, but black people were still being enslaved. Bro, there's this other little side piece, a little compendium to the United States Constitution. They're called the Federalist Papers, right? They lamented the fact that they needed to use slaves, but they also set a pathward forward so that it wouldn't be necessary. So, you should probably take the time and read the stuff that you're going to be critiquing, or at least have a cursory understanding. But when you're trying to put out propaganda and you're trying to undermine the underpinnings of Western society, you need not burden yourself with those objective claims. Just stick with your history professors, the guys who know everything. After months of embarrassing criticism, the Times finally issued a non-apology, which we just took a look at, which it comically calls an update. What looks like a redaction is really a hardening of their original position, for they say they still stand behind the basic point, even though it's wrong. Had the Times simply admitted its many errors, it could have begun a clawback what remains of a reputation for honest journalism. Oh no, that's long dead. But it will not retract or apologize. No longer really a newspaper, the Times more and more represents a postmodern age of propaganda. Its goals and morals and political transformation, distinct from honest reporting, are barely hidden, and the 1619 Project seems to have at least 3 such goals. Get them while they're young. Yes, teach them early, teach them often. Have it permeate everything that the kids will learn, okay? And especially if you're Biden with the American Families Act or plan, whatever it is. No one wants to get them from the age of 3 all the way through the age of 22. He just wants to capitalize all that time so you can learn stupid shit like this. Identity politics. Yes, infuse it in literally everything. But what is the real goal of this project, as Hannah-Jones explains, is to get white people to give up whiteness. What does that mean? Who knows? Well, we do know. It's everything that has ever produced a successful individual, regardless of any sort of immutable characteristics. Yeah, all of that's whiteness. Okay, then why are Jews, Chinese, Armenians, why are they also overwhelmingly successful? Is that because they're white? Ooh, that's going to be a little bit tough to prove. But yeah, no, all of that stuff is whiteness. The statement appears opaque at first, but follows the unmistakable logic of identity politics. Getting rid of whiteness means that whites must stop thinking of themselves as a group. We don't until you started to push this shit onto everybody. And if we had competent leadership up at the top, this never would have got this far. But hey, here we are. So I don't know. I don't consider myself in the white category. I don't consider myself in any category. I consider myself in the Don category. I'm Don. Don speaks Don's ideas. You might not like Don's ideas. That's fine. You have your ideas. We can confer on those. We can come together and create a consensus if we're both arguing in good faith. Unlike this project right here, which just tries to categorize everybody in order to pit them against one another, so that once the divide and once the pinning of one group against another happens, they can come in, they can get power for themselves, because that's all they talk about. Oh, the whites have all the power and they want to maintain it that way. Pure projection, but whatever. So instead of, trying to compete in the marketplace of ideas, no, they just need to give up their power. Why? No, it's this collectivization. Maybe that really is the divide against people. Individualists and collectivists. It's a little bit more snappy than internal versus external locus of control. So I'll take it for the time being. Maybe we'll settle on that for the time. But okay, this is just some ethereal project. This is some addendum to curriculums around the country. Perhaps it'll get adopted. Probably won't be in places like Florida, which has signed legislation in order to ban critical race theory, which would cover stupid ideas such as this from being taught in schools as fact. You can bring it up in a mocking sense if somebody's doing some kind of a drama class and you need to do a stand-up routine. Can you believe you can bring people over 400 years ago and they'd still be in the same place as they still are? Let me tell you, a group of people who believe people are too dumb to evolve over the 400 years that they've been here. Longer than most people have actually been here. Go fuck yourselves. But what's going on in actual schools? Well, okay, because we covered the early end, right? And the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6-year-olds who are going to be taught that horse shit in blue cities and blue states that are already long gone in the fucking rearview mirror. But what's going on in places like California, speaking of deep blue places, in the farther end of that spectrum, the free years of community college, California college professor is put on leave. That's not true. After flipping out at a 19-year-old student for calling cops heroes. Yes, it was caught on tape. It was in a online learning class, and this bitch is totally ideologically possessed. We don't know her name, but we do know the kid's name. And he was, just making some innocuous comment that cops are heroes for doing heroic stuff. Like we seen in the previous video, Derek Chauvin, I wouldn't necessarily classify him as a hero. He might have stopped a couple of crimes that could have been committed in the future, but based on his prior acts, not somebody I would hold up in any sort of esteem. But I also wouldn't be stupid enough to categorize one entire group as being without merit, like this asshole. So anyways, 19-year-old kid was calling cops heroes during a presentation on cancel culture, and then this fucking spurg of a professor freaked out and said that the police were created in the American South to track down runaway slaves. Yep, see how that nicely fits in with the people who buy that 1619 fiction wholesale? Yeah, they become university professors. Oh, I'm sorry, college professors. That free shit that Biden's going to give you. 100% free, right? A California community college professor has slammed one of the 19-year-old students he called... after he called police heroes. The video's just running down there. You know what? Okay, I just want to pause it on her crazy fucking eyes. Actually, even better than that, you can just see every one of these people, okay? Like, you get those SJW spurg out TikToks or just the video captures. They always have that look on their face, that wide-eyed glance into the camera, like, you have to believe me because what I'm saying is true. Like, my eyebrows are up, so that means that I'm really engaged in this. I was blinking a little bit too much for the impression, but then again, I'm not possessed like these people are. The California community college professor has slammed one of her 19-year-old students, not that way, after he called police heroes. The student, Braden Ellis, got into a heated exchange with a communications professor at Cypress College after he gave a Zoom presentation about cancel culture in the United States, and then she tried to cancel her own student. Isn't that fucking funny? Footage of their exchange, which he says came immediately after his presentation, shows the professor repeatedly interrupting Ellis after he defended police officers. Oh my God. Can you imagine? The female professor, who wasn't immediately identified but is an adjunct professor, kept insisting that police were bad. This is the logic of somebody you'd expect if the roles were reversed and this was a dude having a debate with a kindergarten kid. All of them are bad. Moron. At one point, she suggests police were created in the South to track down runaway slaves, and that it was a form of systemic racism. Oh my God. Oh my God. I think cops are heroes. Ellis, who is a business major. Oh my fucking God. Get kids out of college. Get them into trade schools. Just, you know what? Create businesses, okay? Just do it yourself. Get the cursory level understanding, because none of it's safe right now, okay? You had a letter that was signed and created by a whole bunch of medical professionals about how racism is a public health crisis. This was at the CDC, so, you know, it's coming for your STEM fields too. I used to think that they were safe, mostly because they would just focus on facts and figures, but now she's focusing more or less about something that rhymes with figures. He was immediately interrupted by the professor saying, "All of them?" Nobody speaks in absolutes like this. Of course there are a couple of outliers, but you can't fucking stop and address every sort of exceptional case. After being cut off again, Ellis managed to calmly argue, "I'd say a good majority. You have bad people in every business." Very measured response by a 19-year-old student. Ellis Yet a lot of police officers have committed an atrocious crime. Okay, can you prove that? And have gotten away with it and have never been convicted of any of it. I love my straw men too. Ellis responded, "This is what I believe. I do support our police. We have bad people, and they are people that do bad things, should be brought to justice. I agree with that." Based student. The professor then interrupted, saying, "So what is your bottom line point?" You first. "You're saying police officers should be revered, viewed as heroes?" No, he said that they were good people. And bad people get brought to justice. They belong on TV shows with children. Whoa, somebody has some deep-seated daddy issues. The kid rules. Ellis said, "I think they are heroes in a sense because they come in when you need and help you." Yeah. They have problems just like any other business, and we should fix that. The professor then argued that policing wasn't a business. Huh? Because they are supposed to protect and serve people. This is once again just fucking toddler logic. Then the student asked his professor whether she would call the police in emergency. She claimed she wouldn't call law enforcement because she doesn't trust them. Guess what? There's a sale on at this bitch's house. 100% off everything. First person to knock down the door can claim whatever they want first, and everybody else that follows in behind them, just take whatever you want, because this bitch is open for fucking business. My life is more in danger in their presence. I wouldn't call anybody. Oh, good. Just identify as transracial and she'll just let you right in, probably. When this little Chad questioned his professor, what she would do if an intruder came to her home, the professor said the class was over. Oh my God. These people don't think more than one move ahead. All cops are bad. Okay, what if somebody's causing you harm? Gotta go. This is what you gotta do. This is a perfect example, and this is how we're gonna wrap up because this video is going way too fucking long. You gotta question these ideologues. It doesn't have to be a professor. It doesn't have to be any sort of person with any power, but if they come at you with this stupid fucking rhetoric that can be destroyed with just a couple of questions, you gotta dig down. You gotta take a look at them, see what they're presenting, look at their ideas. You should be able to, okay? I've given you guys all of my thought processes through just about an entire year that I've been doing this. Once, twice, 3 times a day. We talk through this stuff. I provide you the sources. You guys know your positions. You guys probably have a couple of little critiques every now and again. That's totally fine. And we're all better off because of it. But we're all talking in good faith, especially with the people that I interact with on a consistent basis. But when you have a moron like this, who after she just ended the class that day, it says here just at the bottom, Cypress College, this is where this took place, said she was an adjunct professor and has since taken a leave of absence from the college. So the headline that it says there, put on leave? No. She voluntarily probably had to retreat to her safe space in a something microaggression, whatever, 2016 lingo. No, just keep digging down. Keep digging down until these people crack. And maybe if it happens to them enough, they'll start to question their positions and maybe, try to look at a little bit of actual evidence instead of just these made up fucking projects and programs that do nothing but divide, that do nothing but instill racist rhetoric into your mind. Fill your head up with word salad that does nothing to help anybody other than just make more useful idiots. Which, at the end of the day, this is California after all, so what did you expect to come out of there? Ugh, so we went from one shithole and we're going to be going on to another because we got to talk about my lovely home of Canada and the censorship bill that is coming right down the pike. And oh boy, spread them cheeks because it's coming, boys. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I'm Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.